Hello? 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 If you can hear this, it's not too late. I've returned to warn you. This is Time Pop, a podcast that discusses time travel and pop culture. There are spoilers. I've seen the future, and nothing is sacred to these folks. Your past, present, and future are sure to be ruined. Even if you could go back in time, as I have, you will never forget what you are about to hear. You've been warned. This is Time Pop.
Blah, 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 blah. Welcome, Chrononauts, as we guide you through the experience of time travel using pop culture as our time sphere. We will be your constants. I am Dez.
And I'm Ari.
And this is
Time Pop.
All right. Welcome, Ari.
Thanks.
It's good to be here.
Of course, as usual.
Of course, I know. This is so wonderful. I've been working a lot on the show, getting some notes ready, trying to get my social media thing in order. And that's all well and good, but it feels great to actually sit down and discuss a time travel film.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This one is a tough one.
Yeah, it was interesting.
This one, just let you guys in. Ari and I talked for a little while to try to figure out how we were going to get through this synopsis without it dragging down to an hour-long discussion of who, what, when, where. And we've just decided we're going to get on here and we're going to fight through it in real time. We're going to try to do a nice quick synopsis and then maybe come back. Well, I'd definitely come back and discuss some crazy time travel stuff. But everyone just hang in there and let us know where we messed up. Hit us up. Hit us up on Facebook. Send us an email. Tell us what you caught that I didn't. Because this really was, just in general, there's a lot going on in this episode.
What movie did we watch?
Oh, we did Futurama's Bender's Big Score.
Yeah.
And we watched it a little bit differently. I watched the 4-episode version. So did you end up buying it?
Yeah, I bought it.
You own it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'll have to check that out sometime. I'm really curious if they had to move anything around to nail those 22-minute episode parts, or if they were able to just cut it here. You know, when making it, I wouldn't be surprised if they had it in mind.
Yeah.
That someday it was going to be episodic. So I'll do some quick facts.
Sure.
We'll work through the overview and so on. So Futurama's Bender's Big Score. So the original movie came out November 27th, 2007. I don't know when they finally got around to releasing it on TV. 88 minutes long, not rated. Woohoo! The director is Dwayne Carey Hill, who directed a Napoleon Dynamite episode. And have you ever seen Disenchantment on Netflix?
I have not.
Neither have I. I keep meaning to check it out. I love The Simpsons. I love Futurama. I assume it's probably not too bad and just haven't gotten there. Writers, Matt Groening, of course. David X. Cohen, which I know from watching good old-fashioned commentaries back in the day. I watched so much Futurama back in the day that I actually got into the commentaries. And the X doesn't stand for anything. There's another David Cohen in the Writers Guild. And so he said, put an X in there and give me my paycheck. And they did. He actually wrote some Beavis and Buttheads too, starring everyone you know and love from Futurama, including Al Gore, Coolio, and Mark Hamill were in this episode. The Rotten Tomatoes rating, 100% fresh, based on 9 critics, so it's probably a couple of cartoon nerds that were easy to impress. And then, but an 80% by the audience, so way to go. I thought it was very interesting while we're in the middle of this Terminator series thing. We're taking a little break from that, doing Bender's Big Score. The time sphere was very Terminator-esque, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that fit in very well.
A couple of other things, too.
Oh.
Were very Terminator-esque.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know I have one more Terminator note for sure. Zap Brannigan, unfortunately, makes a very quick pop-up in this video. I watched it episodically, like I said, so going into episode 4, I'm like, where's Zap Brannigan? And then he shows up, I'm like, yay! And he is swiftly cast out of this movie.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. That's it. We're going to cruise through this. Now, Ari, where do you want to start with the overview?
All right, so we are assuming that you have seen this movie, and we're also assuming that you know a little bit about Futurama, the show. I had to explain it to Scott.
Have he not seen any of it?
He has not seen any of Futurama. So I had to explain to him that there's this guy who is a pizza delivery guy who gets stuck in a time capsule or a freeze. Cryo freeze thing accidentally and is frozen for 1,000 years and wakes up in the year 3000. And just explaining that little part really helped him for this movie because there's a lot of that happening and it refers to a lot of the very first episode of the TV show. So he was like, I'm glad you explained that to me.
I'm glad you did too. I would not have started on episode 1, but so far we're doing great on this overview.
So one day it is discovered at a nude beach that Fry, the main character, has a tattoo on his butt of Bender's face, and he didn't know it was there. He's never known that it was there. It just was like, oh, or did he know it was there?
I thought I remember, maybe I remember it from a later episode. No, because he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it had been there all the time. And I thought that the discovery of this episode was that there was more information in that tattoo. But
so they have a tattoo and there are these new alien creatures that are introduced, and we're calling them the naked aliens.
Yes.
There's 3 of them, and they love information. They love just information. They can smell it.
They sprunge it.
They sprunge it, yeah, with their sprunge glands. And they sniff out the fact that this tattoo on Fry's butt has a code, 1s and 0s, that when you say the 1s and 0s in sequence, it calls out into the universe and suddenly appears a time sphere.
Yeah, that was something I meant to rewatch again. This sphere is just hanging out in the universe somewhere, and this is what calls it to your location.
I guess, yeah, because it had that one shot where it showed the whole galaxy or the whole universe and said something, and then it all of a sudden appeared.
Real quick, since I'm the numbers guy, let's see if we can call it up. 0011 0001 0010 0011 01 000011 011011 0011.
That's really what it is?
Yep.
How did you get that? Did you look it up?
I paused it.
You paused it and read it on the thing?
Yep.
You are the numbers guy.
Well, I had to copy it and paste it and see if it meant anything, and I couldn't. I thought Futurama is so good at putting real things in there. I thought for sure it was going to be
a time sphere.
But no, I did not think it was going to be a time sphere. But I did think it was going to be binary for time travel code or something like that.
So did you plug it into the computer? And
I did.
Where do you plug that? Is there like a website you go to translate binary?
Yes.
Oh.
There are. I just put it in Google search because I know I'm not the first person to do this.
Yeah.
And the only thing that came up was the code for the paradox correcting time code from Futurama Bender's Big Score.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah. All right. So it's not an actual thing. That'd have been cool if it did some sort of command in coding.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, put it in your toolbar and your computer travels back to a 1980s webpage.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of pop-up ads.
Yeah. So all of a sudden appears this green time sphere, and they call it the Universal Machine Language Time Code. Is that right? Universal Machine Language Time Code or Universal Language Machine Time Code? Anyway, to time travel. So it's like they know what it is. It's this thing. It's
a known thing in the universe. Just how to access it was unknown.
Yeah, Universal Machine Language Time Code.
I call it the paradox correcting time code,
which is also what they call it. It is a paradox correcting time code because of right off the bat, people are talking about you can't time travel. It creates too many paradoxes. And someone then says it is a paradox correcting time code, except dun dun dun, except when it rips open the universe.
Well, that is explained later where it basically you create too many paradoxes that in order for the universe to correct all these paradoxes, it just swallows itself whole.
Yeah. So Chomper, is that his name? Nibbler.
Nibbler,
the little alien cat pet thing, all of a sudden starts talking. Is this the first time he starts talking in the show? Because I know he talks later in a few episodes.
I'm having a hard time remembering where this is
Yeah, season 6.
But I know I've heard
Yeah.
him talk a lot, and I feel like it happened before.
Yeah. So and he explains that this is a very powerful and dangerous thing, and it could end up, tearing up the universe. It could destroy the universe. He kept like warning, these people don't use this. And of course, the naked aliens are like, oh, it's fine. We'll just use it 2, 3, 4, maybe max 6 times. It'll be fine. And they do say that it is a paradox correcting time code. And they say that the way that they correct the paradox is they kill the double.
Well, that's just the most obvious paradox
Yeah.
that happens immediately.
So they test it out, right? One of the naked aliens tests it out and goes back 24 hours. And then, he gets in the sphere. And then a second later, him and himself, a double of himself, walk through the front door and is like, yeah, I went back and I met myself and we basically had sex with each
Hooked
other.
up.
Yeah. And then something happens, or I think someone hits like the telescope and it swings around and crushes one of the doubles.
Yeah, as the professor is saying, I know a paradox when I see it. He leans on the telescope, a screw falls out of it, bang, it falls right on him.
And kills, and he says, see, that's how it, paradox corrected. That's how it corrects itself, is it kills the double. So that's how it's correcting the paradoxes. And they also say an important fact is you can only go into the past with this time sphere. You cannot come into the present. So Bender at this point has a virus. He has been taken over by the naked aliens. And
the aliens are scammers.
Yeah.
That's their main thing.
Yeah.
Is that they were dumping a bunch of this malware into the earth to get everybody to give them their information. And then, and so Bender downloads this virus.
A virus.
Yeah.
And he is under their control. So Bender comes up with the great idea of saying, well, I'll go back in time and then just wait it out and reappear right now with whatever thing it is you want to steal. So these naked aliens love to steal things. So they do. And Bender steals all sorts of stuff.
He goes back a lot.
Yeah.
He goes back, we find out later, at least 100 times and steals, gold, art, you name it. Somehow this doesn't create any paradox.
Yeah, one of my main holes for this was like stealing all these major artifacts in history does not alter the future in any way, shape, or form.
So I guess you're right. The only paradox they really get into are doubles of people.
Is doubles, yeah.
Because I kept thinking at the end that somehow Bender was going to take that stuff back and replace it. But the only thing that happens is all of his doubles begin to explode.
Yeah. So Bender would go back and steal the thing and basically wait in the basement of their place and just
Planet Express.
Yeah, and walk up the stairs with the thing and be like, there, I did it. And they never talk about that double. And they do until later, Bender's double for doing the basement thing. So they steal a bunch of stuff and the naked aliens are like, great, I think we've stolen all the things we want to steal. We're done with this. Let's destroy it so nobody else can use it. And so by destroying it, they decide that they have to kill Fry. And Fry doesn't like that. And he runs to get away. He grabs a mirror and reads the tattoo from his butt as he's running away. And this one, when I thought that they were going to do something different, because he was reading it through a mirror, so wouldn't it be backwards? And so I thought, oh, they're going to do something where he read it backwards and something else is going to happen, but it didn't.
Even maybe he just goes forward in time instead.
Yeah. So anyway, he is able to call the time sphere and he travels back to the past and
Minute 1, episode 1.
Yeah, minute 1, episode 1.
Or not, I guess not. I guess it's a little bit into it.
It's right after he's been frozen in the chamber. And then he goes on a little adventure.
So he goes back. Oh, that's right. He does go on. I forget. He goes somewhere. He goes to Panucci's Pizza before he comes back to the cryo chamber. So yeah, he goes to Panucci's Pizzas. The naked aliens send Bender back to kill Fry.
And this is where we get the Terminator aspect of it, where Bender puts on sunglasses like the Terminator and has a big futuristic shotgun rifle. And the aliens are like, why are you wearing sunglasses? And Bender's like, it's really bright in the past. But it's because he's supposed to look like the Terminator.
And then he goes to a phone booth and rips a page out of the phone book
Yeah,
with the 3
all the
Philip fries,
Yeah.
which was great.
And starts just going to these different places and it's other fries.
So, but first, before this grand adventure starts, they're in the cryo chamber, and Fry's in the cryo chamber. Fry just traveled back in time. Bender just traveled back in time. Bender's got to pee, so he travels back 10 minutes.
19 seconds.
19 seconds.
And says to the Bender that's already there, I gotta go pee, you wait here to kill Fry.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so that's right.
So this is the question is, do we want to get into all the little, like, he jumped and then Bender jumped and then Fry jumped and do we want to get into this kind of synopsis?
No. I was going to because I thought I could pull it off, but I can't. So let's just say at this point, there's a lot of time jumping.
And there's a lot of duplicates.
Yes.
So the main thing about this time traveling sphere or this paradox correcting sphere is it kills the duplicates to correct the paradox.
Yes.
And they called it doom field or a doomed duplicate. Is that what they called it?
Yes.
Doom, yeah. They use the word doom a lot. Doom meter, doom field. So when you jump back in time, you are a duplicate and you are that body is going to die.
Well, is it ever discussed which one's definitely going to die? Is it always the time traveler that dies, or does just one of them have to go?
One of them has to go, yeah. Like to the point where there's a new character introduced named Lars who ends up falling in love with Leela. Leela. What was the...
Lilu.
Lilu was the narwhal.
Yes.
Okay. So Leela and then they're about to get married, but he calls it off because Lars discovers that if you are a duplicate, you are doomed.
So at this point, it's jumping back and forth to Fry living in the past from the year 2000 to the year 2012 and falling in love with this narwhal Lilu, and the present / future, I don't know what to call it, where Fry is losing Leela to Lars.
My question is, so Fry of the present read his own butt and traveled back in time. And he becomes Lars.
Yes.
Okay. So why is there a Fry of the present with Lars in the present? Is that because the naked aliens tried to kill Fry? He travels back. He becomes Lars. And then he freezes himself and ends up in the future as well. But where did the other Fry come from? Is that the Fry that was frozen in the cryogenic chamber originally, which was the Fry that went back in time? So this is very complicated.
Yes, it is. So yeah, is there a Lars? When is Lars created?
So, okay, Lars is introduced to the story before we have time travel.
Right. But when is he created in the past?
When Bender blows up the apartment.
Right. How many? But that's the Fry. See, yeah, that's the Fry of 2012.
But
there isn't two.
So the Fry that goes to the North Pole to be with the narwhal.
Yes.
Is not Lars.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, it is, right, because he comes back, he's got the beard, and Bender sees him, and he blows it up, and his hair gets burnt off, his voice changes. Okay, and then he realizes who he is. So Fry becomes Lars, the new love interest for Leela, realizes who he is, and goes, oh, okay, and then freezes himself to be into the future.
Yes.
But why is there another Fry there if that was the Fry that went back? So Fry in the future disappeared and went into the past. So right now there's no Fry in the future.
But Lars is there.
But Lars is...
So there's only one of that being there.
Could it be because this is a loop, and when the Fry from the future goes into the past, the Fry that's frozen in the chamber is there, so there will always inevitably be a Fry in the future when Lars gets there, because it's a loop?
Say that again.
I almost want to have a whiteboard. We should invest in a whiteboard so that I can
You're
visually.
Right.
So if we're saying this is all one timeline.
Yes.
Okay. One timeline. You got your Fry here who the naked aliens are trying to kill. And he goes back to the time when he himself is frozen in the chamber. So you got Fry that traveled and you got frozen Fry. Fry that traveled becomes Lars and then freezes himself and goes into the future. Oh, I think I just figured it out because I used my little hands.
Yeah. We're doing hand puppets right now. We're miming this timeline.
So did you see what I did?
I think so.
So because he traveled back to when there's already a frozen Fry,
Yes.
becomes Lars. I don't know why I'm doing it like chomp chomp. And then freezes himself, and then there's both of them that go.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a what's this here? I do have a timeline
For this movie.
Yeah.
And then at one point,
I'll post this timeline on
the website,
on Facebook.
So at one point, while they're in the cryo chamber lab, Bender appears and he's not under the control of the virus. And I love how you can just open the door to a frozen chamber and close it again and they're still frozen. They're fine. But he takes the tattoo and he just like sticks it on Fry's ass. So that is how he originally got the tattoo, was when he was frozen in the chamber, he stuck it to his ass. So he's always had this tattoo and just never knew.
Yes.
Because not many people can see the very back of their own ass unless they're looking in a mirror. I don't know. And so he's always had this tattoo, but at one point in the future, Bender rips it off of Fry, goes back in time and puts it back on Fry. So the question is, where did the tattoo first come from? We don't know. There is no beginning of this tattoo. It's just a loop. It's always been.
You're right.
It always has been.
Because he actually rips it off Lars.
Yeah.
Because in the scene in the cryogenics place, a tuxedoed Bender shows up out of nowhere. And they're like, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I'm from later on. Don't worry about me."
Yeah.
And that's when he sticks the tattoo.
And the tuxedo was from his funeral or from their wedding?
The wedding.
Yeah. Because there is at one point where regular Fry gets the tattoo lasered off of his ass.
Yes.
So
Nibbler
lasers
it off. So yeah, you're right. There's no origin of this tattoo.
It just always was.
A sphere.
And it's a loop. Yeah.
It's a sphere.
It's a sphere.
That's so awesome. See, I didn't get to that. I watched these, preparing for the podcast and everything around it. I end up watching these movies very two-dimensionally. And it isn't until we have these conversations that this whole picture starts to form. This is awesome.
So to finish the synopsis, there's still a little bit more we haven't gone over. So we have a time-traveling Fry who becomes Lars, who then realizes who he is and freezes himself and goes into the future to be with Leela. And then right before he's about to get married, he hears that if you're a duplicate, if you traveled, you are doomed. You're going to die. So he calls off the wedding because he doesn't want to do that to Leela. And
that's right, because Hermes dies at the wedding.
Hermes' body dies.
That's Hermes' body dies. His body double dies.
And so they break up and eventually Lars does die. And then at the very end, Bender does something where he goes down in the basement and he's like, I found all these other guys in the basement and I convinced them to come up early or something. Basically, he brings up all the Benders that are been in the basement waiting with whatever thing they stole. He tells them to come up and there's like hundreds of them. And then all of a sudden they start to explode. They start to one by one explode because if you're a duplicate, you're doomed. So it's kind of like Bender's malfunctioning and starting to explode. And then they all start to explode more. And then there's a rip in the sky because they talk about it's exponential. So the more times you travel, it raises the chance.
The doomometer.
Yeah, the doom meter is what it was. I wrote that down with quotes. Doom meter.
No, but what's on they do get the doom meter out, but the equation, the DF, I don't know.
DF?
The Globetrotters
Doom
figured
field?
it. Yeah, the doom field generator.
Yeah.
The doom field generator is exponential.
Well, it says the doom field is how it can be a paradox-free time travel. But then I wrote it, then Nibbler says, but it rises exponentially and could rupture the fabric of causality. So when all these Benders come up from the basement, they start to explode and essentially the doom meter goes off or something. And you see a rip in the sky and like time has been broken and everything blows up and they broke the universe.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends.
Yeah. Credits roll.
Yeah.
I did notice I barely watched the beginning of episode 5, and they do say I couldn't get into it, but it said previously on Futurama. So I'm wondering if they'll explain away how the universe didn't explode.
Yeah, it says the copy is always doomed. So my question is, all of these times that Bender went into the past and stole something and waited in the basement and then came up with the thing and then delivered the thing and then went back again, waited in the basement and then delivered the thing and kept doing that back and back and back and back and back. So there was one point where there were multiples of Bender waiting in the basement?
Yes.
But I'm confused on that. How is that?
Because he's so
I guess it depends on when he went back.
Yeah, in theory, but you have to, I mean, he's always going back in time, and he's always appearing at the same moment he went back in time.
So I guess if he went back to different times in the past, so if he went back to 2000, stole something, and then is waiting to appear
for 1,000 years.
But then he also went back to 99 and stole something and is waiting, so that's another one. And then he went back to 98 and stole something, that's another one. Okay, so I get it now. So it's...
And maybe we can only assume that the reason he didn't blow up while waiting down there is because he wasn't interacting with anybody. So...
But they all would be waiting down there at the same time. I mean, it's, it's flexible for this movie and storytelling. So, okay, so I get it. So because he went back to different times means there are a lot of him. And at one point, because they're doomed, they all start blowing up and then they rip the...
When does he come up? Because he doesn't come up...
I know, there's one point where Bender comes up and he's like, hey, I found all these other guys in the basement and convinced them to come up early or come up now or something. But they had already... How did they get rid of the naked aliens? How did the naked aliens end it?
The doomsday device blows most of them up, but the one survives.
No, but how did they get the Earth back from the aliens? Remember, they all had to.
They blew them up. They attacked. Zap Brannigan ended up not helping them.
In their golden Death Star.
Yes, Death Stars.
Death Stars that they were controlling remote control from Earth.
And then they were going to use the doomsday device, but they didn't have it because Bender swapped it out in the past, and so they used the doomsday device on the naked aliens. The one alien survived. And I forget how they dispatched him.
Yeah. So
lots of time travel happened.
So I've heard either from you or from somewhere else that this is one of the most quote unquote realistic not realistic, that's not the right word.
Yeah.
Correct. Plausible time travel story as far as your duplicates. Because if you time travel and it's one timeline, you'd have all these duplicates. And because they made it a paradox correcting time sphere, they kind of did time travel right.
Well, is it definitely, because it was definitely you that mentioned that.
It wasn't me?
It was you.
But where did I hear that?
I don't know. And what I'm wondering is if it's this episode, because there's definitely at least one more time travel episode in Futurama.
Oh, okay. Well, the one we talked about where they had the time machine that goes forward.
I don't know. I just remember that it ends up being the grandfather paradox is what the story of that. Spoiler alert.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, that's a good one. We should do that one too.
Yeah.
We should do that one too.
But I guess...
So what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get to is as far as holds go, they kind of covered all their bases. They killed all the duplicates. They're doomed and they either blew up or they got killed. And the only major hole that I saw was that, stealing all this historic stuff didn't affect the future at all.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they didn't address. Other than that, they kind of covered all their bases.
They really did. As far as people go, they covered their bases really well. And they didn't bother. Like you said, objects. Who cares? Yeah, I guess we kind of got in this in the synopsis, didn't we? I'm trying to think if I have anything to add to the main story of this whole situation. Yeah, this is just really good. You just kind of have to watch it. And because it's a cartoon, I think that's what made it even more difficult, because as cartoons go, they're always jumping to the next joke, the next noise, the next thing. And so just when you're almost wrapping your head around the science, they just go boing,
yeah.
And then you're looking in a different direction, and it's hard to pay attention to. But it's really good. It's a great... I definitely want to watch it in movie form. Like, I think I could get sucked into it more. Just 88 minutes straight through without interruption.
Yeah, and even for, someone who has never seen the TV show to watch it.
Yes.
Scott was like, "Oh, this was good," and he was laughing at some of the jokes, and it helped for me to though explain the first episode of the TV
just
show.
the basic idea of it. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that if you've never watched Futurama but you're a time travel fan, just jump right in, have some fun.
Yeah.
I think this is a great story and it's wacky. So would this be Bootstrap with the tattoo?
I was trying to think about that.
I guess
so
not.
I don't think so, because I think Bootstrap.
Oh yeah, Bootstrap is you're doing something that's already been done.
Yeah, or something got discovered because you went back and did it. I don't know, because it was just always there. It might just be a loop. It might also be Bootstrap because Bender ripped the tattoo off of Fry, who time traveled because there was a tattoo. So it might be a Bootstrap.
So I guess it does fix it, because I think when Bender is exploding, he's destroying the property as well, because each Bender is holding
the thing.
a thing. Because I was just going to ask you, so does that mean from now on there's 2 Mona Lisas in the year 3000 plus? But no, I think Bender blowing up, holding all of that's how they fixed it.
Okay, hang on. You just might have said something really important. If going back in time to steal the Mona Lisa, and he stole it like before it was finished, right?
Oh, that's true. Yes.
But they show him disappear and then reappear, and in that moment where he reappears, there's already a Mona Lisa there. So maybe in this universe, the laws of time travel is by taking something from the past, you don't change the future because the future is already happening or happened.
Well, I think the paradox still gets corrected in the end.
Because he blows up with the Mona Lisa, but the Mona Lisa that already exists in the present is still there.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So if you think about it, like, is time is a line, and you travel along the line and everything's already happened, and you're in this moment now where you travel back, but everything's already happened, but you go back and you just take something away, but it doesn't change everything that's already happened. No, it can't. It has to, because
it took a while. Like, they definitely took some liberty in when the paradox decided to correct itself. But because what got me there was thinking that the Bootstrap would be if Bender took the Mona Lisa back and told Da Vinci to paint it.
But he didn't.
Right. That I'm just saying this is how my brain got back to this loop. But I think the problem is that I think the paradox always corrects itself.
With people.
Well, no, it did it with objects too, though, because at the end, all the objects blow up with Bender.
Yeah, but that would change the present.
No.
Because you're taking it out of the past. If he stole the Mona Lisa before it was done, there was no Mona Lisa. And then anything and everything having to do with the Mona Lisa throughout history would be different.
As near as we can tell, this universe doesn't suffer from the butterfly effect. If it did, then going back in time would just erase the current you. So if I went to yesterday, that would erase yesterday's me, I think. So this is kind of the same thing. Again, we're back to the Terminator, which I'm still having a hard time. I need to do some more research to figure out what kind of time travel this is, where even though you're changing the past, you're not changing the present. So even though if a Mona Lisa exists in the year 3000 and you go back to whenever the Mona Lisa was painted and you steal it, it doesn't make the one in the year 3000 disappear. So you're changing everything from when you stole the Mona Lisa to now, but from now forward.
I think that when it comes to the things that he stole, I think this is a hole in the plot, because it would change. If it was one timeline, it would change anything and everything having to do with the Mona Lisa.
Well, in that particular one, you're right. No, because I still don't think that the Mona Lisa in the year 3000 is changed. Because I don't think this universe suffers from the butterfly effect. So when he goes back and steals the half-made Mona Lisa, I don't think that makes the one in the year 3000 magically become half-made or disappear.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they didn't talk about that at all. But then if you apply that same laws to the people, if a person goes back in time or forward in time, I think that the laws that apply to stuff and people are different for this story.
I think they just took grand liberty and win because it in theory it did correct itself
with people.
No, if all the Benders blew up and destroyed the property that he stole with it, then the paradox corrected all the people and the property.
But the property no longer exists, because if there's only...
But it corrected itself. If the paradox corrects itself by... Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I think for this universe, for this story, I think you're right when you say when you steal something from the past, it doesn't affect the present. That's the laws of this story's universe. But in reality, I mean, as much reality as we can do, if you were to steal something from the past, it is no longer there, and anything having to do with it doesn't exist going forward, and so the future would be changed. But I think you're right. I think for this story, the butterfly effect doesn't apply. That when you steal something from the past, it doesn't affect the future. Therefore, when Bender does blow up holding these objects, yes, it corrects itself.
In a way, but now I'm thinking, I mean, because with people, but it still affects, you're right, because it still does affect from when it was stolen till now. Because everyone from now on understands what the Mona Lisa is. But then, so if you go back to 1800s and steal the Mona Lisa, what happens then when you go back to the 1900s?
Yeah, there's no Mona Lisa, so everything having to do with that's my point.
Okay.
It's tricky because this time travel device only goes into the past. So as a person going into the past, now there's two of you, and one of them is doomed, and so that's how it corrects itself. But when you take an object from the past and bring it to the future,
it's still doomed, but it messes up the timeline.
I mean,
all the objects were still doomed.
I guess in this story, now there's two of them in the future and one of them is doomed, but more realistically, it would have changed that object's future because you took it out of the past.
Yes.
So there's a bit of a hole for this story when it comes to the objects.
Well, I don't know so much that's a hole as that it just wasn't explored. I mean,
they just didn't want to have to go into
let's what happened to the 1980s if the Mona Lisa didn't exist? Who the fuck?
Yeah, but I mean, they did such a good job covering their tracks with the paradoxes when it comes to the people.
Yeah,
that there's nothing for us to talk about. Like they did a great job with that, and so when it comes to the objects, they didn't. So then we can get into the logistics of that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it's
awesome.
It's confusing.
Awesome. I love it when we're wrapping up and we launch into another amazing conversation. So my question for you, since we've discussed this type of time travel, going back in time and not being able to travel forward, we've done that before. Would you, putting up air quotes, people, time travel by cryo freezing yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's one of the, more realistic ways you could actually time travel is, like Idiocracy. Love that movie where you freeze yourself and you get to see what the future's like. I'm a futurist. I would love to see what the future is like, and I would totally freeze myself in the name of science.
Would you want to do it by 60, or would you say, I don't care, I just want to see it, you can freeze me right before I die and just give me one more good year in 1,000 years just to see what's going on?
That's true. When would I freeze myself? It's tough. I kind of like my life right now.
Yeah, I know.
So I wouldn't want to freeze right now, so that's a tough one. But if it were a good time, I would totally do that.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, part of me is like, of course, any chance of time travel, but I would definitely do when I'm 90, freeze me or something like that. Just towards the end, freeze me for 1,000 years. Who knows what science will be like then too. I'm 80, might be middle-aged, and they'll get me another 80 years, my dry bones.
Yeah, medical science could be very advanced in the future. So aren't there real people in the world trying to do this already? Aren't there places that will freeze you? I'm pretty sure there's at least one place. I saw some documentary or something where there's a place that will freeze your body, and there's no guarantee that it'll work and that they'll be able to unfreeze you in however many years. But there is definitely a company out there that is trying to develop the technology to freeze people.
I know I've always heard rumors, but I never knew how founded they were, or if it was just our way of explaining eccentric millionaires being weird. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that. So real quick, I want to talk about something else. Real quick, I kind of talked to Ari about this a little while ago when we were hanging out, but something just a little bit different. If you want a time travel challenge out there, people, I have been playing a super cool app game called Time Turner. That is so much fun. If any of you out there have ever played the game Braid, if you've ever played Braid, just don't ask any questions. Just go download Time Turner. It's right up your alley. You'll love it. But it's really cool. It's a really simple looking game, simple little puzzles. You're this little block guy that goes around and you activate these bridges and you activate these ramps and you activate these stairs, but they only stay open or up for a certain amount of time. So what you have to do is you have to go through the puzzle, activate these things in a certain order at a certain time, and then you go grab your time crystal. Your time crystal splits you off and you stay there, and it sends you back in time to the beginning of the puzzle. And then your character does all those actions. And while it's activating the bridges, you in the now use him to run across those bridges as he's activating them. And it's really cool. It's getting really hard. I'm only on level 11, but it's already making you think very fourth dimensionally. Like I'll find myself having to go across this bridge and then go forward, and I can't figure out how to do it. And I realize that I need to make my guy go forward on the right side. So then when he goes back in time, I'll activate the bridge and have my back in time self jump across the bridge. And then when he goes forward, he'll go forward to activate the thing on the other side of the bridge. Anyways, it's super cool and super interesting. And if you're into time travel type puzzles, I highly recommend Time Turner. So check that out.
Man, this is fun on a bun. Here I go again. Oh, no, you don't. 0011001.
And now for a little break for some contact info. Thank you for listening to Time Pop. Hopefully, if you've made it this far, it is because you have enjoyed the program. Please like and subscribe to Time Pop and tell a neighbor or a friend about it so you can enjoy a discussion of your own on the topic of time travel. You might even find a friend to watch some of these movies with. Next week is going to be a Terminator episode for sure. What it's going to consist of is still a little bit up in the air. As a lot of you already know, T4 has little to no time travel, but then T5 cranks the time travel up to 11. So what my plan is right now is to watch both of those movies, do a quick T4 just because we do meet some people in there and it kind of messes with the timeline as we've come to know it, even though there isn't actual time travel in it. And then do a nice long discussion on T5 and how it just destroys any theories that we've had thus far. And then just kind of do a little wrap up until now, just kind of discuss all the Terminators and the time travel that it's been going on and what some of our theories are about what's happened, what some of our theories are that may be coming up. I've been kind of I have been keeping myself in the dark about Dark Fate. Didn't even mean to do that. So I'm sure I could look up some of this information and find it, but I kind of want to, I'm not worried about spoilers, but I do want to, have some theories of my own that aren't too tainted by all the stuff that I read on the internet. So I will eventually go fishing that stuff up, but not before I talk to you folks out there about it. So stay tuned for that next Wednesday, Terminator something or other. If you would like to add to the podcast conversation, please email us at timepop9216@gmail.com. That's timepop9216@gmail. And tell us your thoughts about this or any other versions of time travel and how you might use it. And definitely let us know about a time travel movie, book, game, etc. that we might discuss on a future episode. And if you would like to start your own discussion on the topic, please head over to Face, Insta, Twitter book. We are at tpop9216. That is at tpop9216. If you want to get involved, head over there, and please, I'm talking to you, hit us up, send us an email, or you can even post on Facebook. Let us know what you want to hear. We need to keep you guys interested, or there's no reason for us to keep shouting into these mics. Ari and I can just go to a coffee shop and have a quiet conversation, but we would like to engage some of you out there into some of these conversations. We are going to start hitting some of the more major titles. Terminator definitely got us in there, and I didn't want to burn some of the bigger titles on our first couple episodes as we're working out the kinks, but I feel confident we've got most of the kinks worked out, and now we need to engage listeners in movies that you really want to hear about. So please let us know what you want us to do. Can't wait to hear from you about that. And also please check out Sounds Awesome 9216. That is soundsawesome9216.com to hear what else sounds awesome. I'm currently working on some new shows for that network, so stay posted, but it's always a great place just to find Time Pop, which is also available on all of your favorite free podcatchers. Thank you very much. And now back to the big finish.
I don't see how things could get any worse.
We could sing.
I'd rather kill myself.
Why not do both?
Oh, very well.
And we are back. thank you again, Ari. This has been awesome. It's been a very difficult conversation to have. This one, I think more than any other, I think you should really check this movie out and see it. I think we do a pretty good job of our synopsis, and we want the bulk of our conversation just to be about the time travel anyways. And this, the time travel was fairly simple, but they really managed to tie this timeline in a great little knot. I will post a timeline on social media so you guys can look at that and join us. I'm going to go out on a limb because I think we're on a roll here. Join us next week. Thanks, Ari.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
I think that's all.
All right. I am Desmond McNeese.
And I'm Ariel Gala. See you later.
Zero zero 0011 0001 0011 0011 0000 11 011 011 011 011 011 0011